Good afternoon and good morning to those of you that have joined us from overseas. Actually, we're both overseas, aren't we? But over in the States and in Canada. I'm just going to leave it as always, just for a few seconds, just to allow everyone to join us. It's one of my favourite topics at the moment that we're discussing, but we'll go through that all shortly. I'll try and keep quiet for a few seconds. It's not possible, but I'll try.
That's 5 seconds of success right here.
That was really, really hard for me. I was just thinking, are the animals going to start making some noises? But anyway, let's go. All right, so we've left it just over a minute. So as I said, thank you for joining us. We have got a great topic today. So I'm joined with Papaya Global, and we're going to talk about AI. So what can AI do for me? Embedded AI and its role in future-proofing global payroll payments. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Melanie Fitzy. I'm the CEO of the Global Payroll Association. And today we've got Amit Levi with me today. He is the SVP of Product for Global Payroll, for Papaya Global. Papaya provides payroll, payments, and workforce management to all employment types in over 160 countries. So before we dive into detail, let's take a quick look at what we'll be covering. In this webinar, we'll explore the significance of embedded AI in revolutionising global payroll payments and processes. We'll begin by understanding with what embedded AI is and its pivotal role in SaaS platforms. Next, we'll examine the key challenges faced in global payroll and payments, including data complexity, compliance regulations, which is huge, and security concerns. So 3 really good topics. We'll then delve into the current landscape of AI in payroll and payments, identifying areas where AI is making an impact and those that still require attention. Finally, we'll explore Papaya's approach to embedded AI and how it addresses these challenges effectively. So really looking forward to that. But Amit, a bit about you. Would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure, thank you very much. So my name is Amit Levi, and I'm serving as SVP of Product here at Papaya Global, and actually coming from lots of very significant background in data and AI. For the past few years, I've ran some of the best data and AI products for startups here in Israel, and it is a great honor to see how can we leverage the latest and greatest AI can offer in this space of payroll, global payroll and payments.
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic, and one that people are really interested in, and some people that are a bit nervous about. I don't think necessarily the press does such a great job on promoting AI, but we'll go through all of that. And we've just had a question whether or not this session is recorded. This session is recorded, and what we'd also like it to be, if possible, is interactive. So if you do have any questions for Amit, please ask them, because we can ask them as we go along. We find the webinars are so much more enjoyable when they are interactive, and I'm sure a lot of people do have questions. Even going through this process ourselves, I will definitely have some questions for Amit. Okay, but before we start, we're going to start off with a poll. So it'd be great to hear from everyone. Which of these words best describes AI's role in global payroll? Integral, beneficial, redundant, risky. Amit, what do you reckon is going to be the highest score on this one?
I have my hopes.
What do you hope it to be?
Well, I hope that I will affect the answers if I say it, but I do hope that people will see it mainly beneficial, because clearly payroll can be done without AI. However, using AI will for sure improve and ease the process of payroll.
Okay, so actually, thank you so much for everyone that has answered, because if you attend our webinars often, I have my magic sort of goal number that I like people to achieve, and you're already over that, so that's great. Can you I'm going to stop it in a few seconds, so if you haven't answered, please make sure you do, and I'm going to reveal the results. And thank you also so much for the questions already coming in, so that's brilliant. Okay, I'm going to end the poll, and can you see the results?
Well, I can for sure, and
Yeah.
I like the answers.
Okay.
It is also very interesting to see risky because alluding to what you said earlier, people do see huge risks in using AI, and I think it is important that we talk during this conversation about the risks and how can you mitigate the risk. What is the best way to understand the risks? But clearly, people do care about AI, and seems like people want to use AI in payroll.
Yeah, okay. Right, so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm just going to go to Brian's comment on here. Brian, I think there is a way that AI is impacting global payroll now and in the future. I'd have two different answers for that. So Brian, I think you should tell us what your two different answers are, and we'll come back to you during today's webinar. But genuinely, I would really like to hear from you, Brian. Okay, so let's start with some basics before we get into how great AI in the sky impacts global workforce management, and what kind of artificial intelligence are talking about here for our purposes. So Amit, over to you.
Yes. So this. I hope many of you know this quote by Sam Altman, and we also know the thought process behind AI and how big is AI these days. And we see many companies in the fintech space, but generally many companies that are trying to leverage AI and use it for better. And people we're troubled whether AI will replace us at some point, whether we'll leverage AI successfully. So it's very hard to predict the future. But in this at this time, I think it's very clear, and based on your answer, it's also clear to you that there is value in AI that we can leverage these days to better our work and to better our lives. So I think what we want to do over the next few minutes when we talk, is to discuss what can we do, what can we actually do these days with AI in the space of global payroll, and this is what I wanna take a very practical approach.
So you don't think it's going to be the end of the world then?
Well, I hope not, and if it will, let's enjoy it now. Okay, let's start by enjoying it before. Okay, so Melly, I'm going to take this one, and I want to basically introduce this concept of embedded AI, and I want to start the discussion with it, because AI has many forms. Many people talk about Gen AI these days. In the past, we talked about machine learning a lot. And when we prepared to this webinar, we talked about RPA, or robotic process automation, and what does that mean? How everything connects, and you know how it is in tech. There's a lot of buzzwords, and many things interact. We have I want to take a very specific approach towards AI, and the approach is to really see how can we embed AI in everything that we do, because payroll is a very old process. Everybody knows how to do payroll. AI is not about reinventing payroll. We know how to do payroll, and also regulations keeps very strict guidelines around how to do payroll. But with the use of AI, we can do it just better, or enjoy while doing it. Or I know for talking with many payroll specialists that the payroll cycle is it's a nervous wracking cycle, and people are very emotional about payroll and about these last days of every cycle, and to make sure that every employee got paid is a very big responsibility. With using AI, by embedding AI into the different processes of payroll, we can really introduce more order and more relaxedness to this process. And I think this is the first thing that I want to look at, how we as payroll professional can use AI in the little things that we do. in order to improve our day-to-day.
Okay, so we do have a comment. Joanna put, not everyone knows how to do payroll, but I think what Amit means is everyone who does payroll knows how to do payroll. Obviously, there's a lot of people that don't understand payroll, but we're working on that. Okay, right. So let me get on to poll 2. How much do you expect AI to improve your global payroll strategy? Not at all, not much, a lot. It will completely transform my global payroll strategy. So I reckon, Amit, tell me if I'm wrong, you want to have a lot and it will completely transform my global payroll strategy as the highest. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's the reality.
Yeah, okay. So let's see. You're slightly slower on answering this one, everyone. So we've still got to get to my magic number. But it's really interesting to see what everyone's coming up with the answers. So obviously I can see them coming through. I think the answers would have been a lot different this time last year, but I think people are becoming more open to AI, I hope.
Yeah, I think you can't really you cannot ignore it if you don't. It's like not using computer. You can't really do it. It's no longer a choice. You gotta use AI.
Yeah. And we were also using AI, aren't we, with like Siri and all those. But anyway, let's do the poll. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to shut it up in a couple of seconds. So if you haven't answered, thank you, whoever that was. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And these are the results. So not much, 18%, a lot, 67%, and 15%. It will completely transform my payroll strategy. Is that what you thought the answers might be? Are you happy with those answers?
Well, I was hoping more for the fourth one because, and this is I think what we're going to talk about later in this webinar, is what can we really do? What are we really doing today in Papaya, and what other companies can do? I'm sure others are also doing. That is really transforming how people do payroll. With the caveat that again, regulations are regulations. Things that are regulations driven, legal driven, are not going to change. But all of the paperwork, all of the calculations, validations, things like that are our day to day, can really be transformed.
So just to come back on Brian, so Brian's 2 different answers were risky now and integral in the future. So risky now maybe because we're still learning and it's new, and integral in the future. So I think they're really good answers, Brian. And Patricia, agree, most outside of payroll tend to simplify the payroll process due to lack of understanding of compliance and tax requirements. So that was going on the previous comment of people not understanding payroll. But that's a whole different webinar. We can do a webinar on that one. So Amit, how can we leverage AI to improve payroll?
Well, let's start with the big picture. If we look at the fintech industry, and we see payroll and fintech very much associated because the end of payroll is actually be able to pay the salary. It is really clear, looking at numbers, looking at from the best in the market, from Gartner, Deloitte, it is really clear that professionals in the fintech space are very much occupied in understanding how can they leverage AI. And the promise of AI is huge. And actually, already, we use, as you've mentioned, we use AI in our day-to-day, whether we interact with Bard or with Gemini or with ChatGPT or any type of AI that we're seeing more and more in our professional lives. But specifically in the fintech space and more specifically in global payroll, AI is going to create a huge change. But I wanna even start with the risk question, and to kind of touch upon how can we know if payroll is a good problem for AI? Because maybe it isn't. Maybe my payroll. Maybe my payroll isn't a good problem for AI, and maybe my problem isn't a good problem for AI. So I want to kind of give some guidance to the audience that based on the experience that we have with regards to what kind of problems are a good fit for AI and what problems are not a good fit for AI. So first of all, AI really needs data. And for AI to work seamlessly or to work effectively, it needs a lot of data. And if my problem, is it just doesn't have data available, for example, or it's very low in data, AI is not going to be effective. So first question is, let's make sure that we have enough data and the data is available effectively. And within the data, there are patterns that we can identify. Again, payroll is a very data heavy problem, and patterns in payroll are very, for the most part, known. And this is already a good start. We want to be able to classify the data, possibly predict what's going to happen. And we also need very clear definitions, which is a huge plus in payroll. Payroll is a pretty strongly defined problem. However, on the flip side of it, there are some places which I really recommend not to use AI. And I also want to mention that. For example, legal consultancy cannot be replaced with AI. I would not take AI to tell me, how to settle a legal case. I will not use AI to help me classify employees. In order to classify employees, I need to understand local regulations. I need to understand very specific nuances, and AI is not good for that. For that, we need legal aid. I will also, I want to give maybe even more specific example. We use AI in order to identify discrepancies and to identify anomalies. So AI is really good in identifying those. But in order to resolve those discrepancies or anomalies, I wouldn't want to use AI. I would want to use a person that knows the space of payroll in that specific location in order to resolve the problem. So AI is really good in identifying the problem when it comes to payroll, but it's not very good in solving the problem because it doesn't understand regulations well enough. So I would be cautious to use AI in situation that it's not a good fit not a good fit for.
So you need like the person, really, the personality behind it.
It's the knowledge. And again, people listening to this call know really good that local regulations are very specific and they change. And local payroll software are specific and they have their own capabilities. And we need to have a person that is swimming, understanding the local regulations to really know, what are the benefits that one employee is entitled to, how to resolve, a bonus problem if there is such, how to understand tax filing. So the specific issues eventually will require people with expertise.
Yeah. Well, this has definitely got people talking. So we've got a couple of questions. I mean, I hope that's okay. Can data be structured data or in all formats? So does it have to be in a specific format?
It's a great question. No, it doesn't need to be structured. You got to get it structured. Okay, so eventually you it's not a must to have the input data in a structured way, but you should use AI in order to take unstructured data and transition it to structured data. Then it is much easier to use. And later on, we're gonna go over some specific examples of how can you, for example, classify documents, understand what type of document is it, and then extract data from that document effectively.
Okay, so we've had a question, what does AI bring to payroll? So we're just going to come on to that now. So we're just going to talk about some of the issues. What are the untamed areas of payroll and payments that AI still needs to sort out?
Oh, sorry. So basically, sorry.
Is there further ones? You've covered that one bit, haven't you? Or is there
I do think that we discuss this later on.
Okay. So we're going to go to the compliance and data and accuracy. See, this is what happens having a live webinar, Amit.
Sorry, Melanie, is it? No, so it's not a specific question. So we're gonna continue with the track.
Yes, please. Yeah. Sorry, I
Sorry
just
about
threw you. I just threw you there. Sorry.
that.
We've got loads of questions. We'll go on to them afterwards. I'll let you carry on.
All right. So if we want to discuss those specific challenges in payroll and payments, and we've created this beautiful cats and dogs analysis. There's a lot of issues, challenges that you are probably aware of with regards to global payroll and payments. So and you can use AI to relieve many of those challenges. Okay, so in many cases, the biggest thing with regards to payroll is compliance. You've got to understand local compliance very strongly, and understanding compliance is a huge challenge. One of the things that we're doing here in Papaya, and I think many can benefit from, is that we're constantly scanning the world to understand compliance changes, and for our customers, and again, I think this is mandatory when you go into a new location to understand the compliance and regulation in that location. And you can use AI to have the data more available. Scan the internet, scan regulation changes, and use AI to be more aware. And again, I will not use AI as a sole purpose, as a sole tool. I will for sure always work with a local expert. However, AI can really help us be more aware. Accuracy is a huge thing, right? We want to be accurate, you know that. AI is an amazing tool in order to make sure that we're accurate. AI can really also help us plan ahead, timeliness. Again, when you want to pay a payroll, you want to be able to understand the entire payroll cycle, understand when you should do each and every activity. AI is really good. If you ingest AI, for example, with the holiday calendar, and you ingest AI with bank holidays and pay dates, AI can help you plan the payroll cycle more effectively, to know what action should you do when, in order to be ready to pay on the right pay date. Of course, security is a huge issue, both with AI and with payroll, and we're going to touch upon that, I hope, later on in this webinar. Everything around data, which is very much strongly associated with onboarding, is a very big challenge when you onboard a global payroll operation. You got to have the ability to ingest data in different languages, to ingest data in a little bit different formats, and that's really important through the onboarding and throughout the process. And of course, issues with regards to synchronization between many different systems that are part of payroll and part of payments, HCM systems, time and attendance systems, payment systems, banks, and the like.
So there's a lot to do then. There's a lot of work. Is this where the embedded AI you mentioned earlier comes into play? So tell us how these problems are currently being addressed.
Yeah, so basically the way we think about it is that we think of what skills does AI have, and how can we use those skills to cope with each and every one of those challenges. So how can we use AI for better timeliness? How can we use AI to onboard better? And what we do, the concept of embedded AI is to really see how can we leverage the skills of AI and input them into each and every one of those challenges.
Sorry, I just had myself on mute then. I think after so many years, I should know then. So are we going on to the next slide? We've got the embedded AI and global payroll and payments. Is there anything further on this, Amit?
Yes, so I think we're diving slowly into the more juicier part of this conversation. And maybe some more specific examples of things that you can do with embedded AI. So one is real-time data analysis and processing. So you can use embedded AI in order to, again, better ingest data, identify the types of data that you ingest, convert, as you've asked, unstructured data to structured data. And that's a very, very, very big thing. AI is also really good in understanding patterns and identifying anomalies from those patterns, and that's another area where you can use it basically in real time. AI, if you feed AI with knowledge, with rules, AI can also validate those rules on your payroll or on your salary updates. So AI can help you, again, once you train it and explain to it what is compliance, right? What is compliance means, it can help identify compliance issues, and by that, it can mitigate the risk. And last, AI is really good at identifying things that are abnormal. And that's a really good tool, a really good way to identify potential fraud and to alert the relevant people that a fraud risk is now introduced and you should mitigate it.
Yeah, and that's a really good point with fraud detection and prevention, because there's so many cases that you read in national media, isn't there, and press. So that's really good. Right, we're coming on to our
actually just yesterday one of the biggest law firms in Israel here was hacked, and the way that the regulator identified the hack is because they identified an abnormal volume of data being downloaded. So some AI noticed that huge volumes of data are being downloaded and alerted that law firm. And that is a good example of identifying basically fraud taking place and alerting the relevant team.
Okay, so thank you so much for the questions. We'll come to the questions towards the end, but we're going to go on to our final poll. So let's go on to this one. Okay, so where do you see AI most improving your global payroll strategy? Well, this is an interesting one.
Yeah.
What do you, oh, and also we've got other, so if you can add that into the chat, your answers, that would be great. Amit, what do you think, or what do you hope for on this?
I would aim to number 3, efficiency. But clearly I can help in all and in more. So a really good student would choose other and just write everything in the chat.
Well, we've got some in the chat, all of them. So you guys who've got all of them, I think you get a 5-star. Okay, yeah, all of them. So we'll just give it a few more seconds, and if you haven't answered, if you could answer, I would be grateful. This is the geeky side of me when I run these webinars. Yeah, so you got a lot of people that says all of them there, so that's good. All right, I'm going to stop the poll and I'm going to share the results. So we've got accuracy 23%, security 2%. I say that's low for me, security 2%, efficiency 69%, and obviously other 6%, but it looks like we've got potential automation as the other, but it looks like all the rest of the other are all of them.
Yes, and security, I get why security is low, because while it is a potential value, it is also a potential risk. So maybe this is why we see a relatively low result there.
Okay. Okay, right. So, Amit, what's Papaya's angle in all of this then? So what are you guys doing?
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I really like to be practical. So this is the better part of the webinar, in my opinion, because I get to talk about the things that we're actually doing. And I think when thinking about that, I've chose 4 specific areas that I wanted to discuss and give, like other people, thoughts how can they leverage AI. So first and foremost is file matching and classification. Payroll involves many different files, tax files, pay slips, birth certificates, marriage certificates in some places, and many different files. And then taking those files and converting those files to data to later be used in payroll is very time consuming and also very error prone. So one of the things that we're doing, which I think is coolest, is we're teaching AI to identify different files. So when our AI gets a file, it can know it's a payslip. And it knows it's a payslip not only if it's in English. Once it identifies what a payslip is, it will identify that payslip even if it's in French or in Chinese or Japanese or, God forbid, even in Hebrew, which is really hard. You are able to train AI and teach it to classify files. And once it's able to classify files, it can go to the next step and extract data out of those files. Because if this is a payslip, I know what type of data I want to extract out of it. If it's a text file, I know what type of data I want to extract out of it. And this is something that we do every day. And here it is really reduced operational mistakes and operational workforce, because many things have really become automatic. And that really is key to improving our customer experience. Another very important area is payroll rules and payroll validations. So again, once AI is taught what are the payroll rules, it identifies when there are anomalies or when there are mistakes. So we have thousands of rules that are specific to specific locations, in some cases specific even to specific use cases. And we, not we, the AI, you can think of it as like thousands of people are scanning the data, searching for those rules. And if a rule is being not met, then we surface this to a human, and then the human can understand how to reconcile that problem. And maybe the last one, which is really important, is more local, okay? Regulations and benchmark. So using AI, once the data is very well structured, it is also really feasible to easily create benchmarks. So for example, to understand that two job titles are actually the same, that a software engineer and engineer is basically the same person, that an R&D manager and software team lead is basically the same title. And by that is becoming significantly more realistic to generate benchmarks. And also AI can really help in reading and learning the local regulations. So another thing that we're doing is that we're scanning the world, and by scanning the world, we're creating things like the Countrypedia that we have or Paymentspedia that we have. Of course, it's not only by AI. Once AI is doing this, we have a person, a human, a team that are going and validating the information. But the amount of time the AI is saving for us while doing the payroll, both for our research and also for the actual payroll processing, is enormous. And I wanted to even take it, I'll go over this really fast, but a step further onto how we think of this. And maybe for those of you that plan such a system, you can also take this as a guideline. So we talk about 3 layers of AI that we have here. The orange layer is the business layer. This is eventually the use of AI. For example, in our case, an onboarding wizard. So to run an onboarding wizard, we use a lot of AI. But the AI is in the backend. This is why it's embedded, because the customer doesn't necessarily have to see it. It's not about the ChatGPT that you talk with it and its answer. We use AI and you don't even know as a customer that it is AI that you're now interacting with. So the top layer is basically the business layer. The second layer is what we call the services layer. Those are the different capabilities that I've just discussed earlier, for example, web search. And then the third layer is what we call the skills. Those are the different skills of AI. And with those, so we take the skills, we turn those skills into different services, and then we surface those services on different business use cases that eventually our customers interact with. And again, I'm trying to be very specific, so really specific use cases, and I welcome any question about this later on. For example, I want to give, I've divided the examples for within implementation, things that are done during the implementation, use cases that are done during the payroll cycle, the payment cycles, and customer experience. And I want to maybe take the customer experience actually as a first example and talk about client queries. So at Papaya, we get hundreds of client queries every day. And that's really hard to answer. And the clients are payroll experts, and they need their answers really fast and really accurate. So what we do is that we use AI in order to try and answer the question. However, AI never sends the answer to the end user. What AI is doing, it takes that question, it comes up with the answer based on all of the data that it has available in our knowledge base, in the project, in the history of the client, and it drives the answer and it gives us to our rep. And then our rep can validate the answer. And if indeed that's a good answer, he can send it. If it needs to change it, he can change it, or he or she. But we use AI to give the full context to our team as we try to answer the question. Another good example is with regards to the cycle manager. And I think there was a question in the chat about things that are happening late, right, during the payroll process. So we use AI to orchestrate the payroll cycle, to understand what step should happen when, and also to identify things happened after time. And again, since global payroll is very local, eventually every location has its own. In some cases there are 2 cycles, in some cases there's 1 cycle, in some cases there's a holiday. To really grasp all of that information is very cumbersome, and it's really local and it's really changing. So we use AI to help us manage the payroll cycle. There are other examples here. I don't want to dive into each and every one because I want to leave also time for room for questions later on.
Sorry, I just pressed the button and lost you there just for a second. So it's what you have shown us is really interesting, and it's great to see the full power of like embedded AI being applied. So Amit, do you want to wrap things up? And then we have got loads of questions here. So do you want to wrap things up, and then what we'll do is we'll jump on to the questions.
Yes. Maybe just last word and then to the questions. There is a lot of buzz about AI, and there's also always a lot of buzz about different things. And embedded AI, in my opinion, is to understand where is the value and not the buzz. Again, you see different chat interfaces, but I'm not sure that you can trust those interfaces. And embedded AI is to really look at how can you leverage AI to things that make a difference and create value for your company in your payroll cycle. And this is what we try to focus on, and this is what I encourage everyone that listens to really focus on.
So thank you so much, Amit. We've got a question around security, which has come into the Q&A box. So I agree that AI can manage the data in a more efficient manner. However, how is the concerns around security being managed? Is it through companies licensing different AI tools and training them behind their firewall?
Yes, security is a huge thing. Even specifically in payroll, which is a very private issue and includes a lot of personal information, security is a huge consideration. If you feel that you don't have the necessary security, access to relevant security, if you don't have security professionals with you that can approve what it is you're doing, I would recommend not to use AI at all. Don't take people's personal life and send it to ChatGPT for you to kind of come up with the answer. You got to be very cautious in how you use AI. It can also drive wrong answers. This is also a risk, right? AI hallucinations. It can just give you a wrong answer and you take this answer as if it's reality. That is also a very big risk. In order to mitigate this risk of against security, I would recommend first use a safe environment. run it on Azure cloud, run it on with a company that is authorized and that is secured and that is licensed. Don't just use a free version and send personal information out there without any consideration. I would also recommend cross-validation. Don't take one AI answer, don't take one input and have AI work on that single input. Try to have as many inputs as possible. Validate with two different models. Have a human input as well. That's really important. Cross-validation is key in order to reduce the risk. And maybe the last thing that I would recommend is monitoring. Eventually, payroll is very repetitive, and you can use AI to monitor. You gotta monitor AI, okay? So if, for example, AI identifies a type of data and it inputs that data, let's check how many times does that happen a day. And if one day it really reduces or the other day it really increases, maybe there's a problem. So it's really key to monitor AI in production. That will give you more confidence that mistakes doesn't happen.
Thank you, Amit. So we've got another question. It's really hard to choose the questions that we have got. So we will send them to Amit and his team, and they can always come back to you. There's some commercial ones about Papaya, so I'll leave that offline so that you can come back. But Mark's asked, I don't understand what is the difference between using embedded AI and what a payroll system can perform. What embedded AI can provide a payroll system cannot?
Good. So the idea is that embedded AI can basically be a force multiplier for a payroll system. For sure, embedded AI cannot replace a payroll system. However, if you use embedded AI, it's easier to identify mistakes in your payroll. It's easier to correct rules. It's easier to define rules. It's easier to plan. So the idea with embedded AI is that your payroll provider should have it installed, integrated in each and every one of the processes of data collection, of data processing. And by that, it makes the process of payroll much more seamless, much easier. Melanie, you're on mute, I suspect.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. So we just had a response from your last question and answer, and just basically you've justified that humans are still needed. So one of the big things is this going to be the end of payroll? But I think from what you've said today is that humans will always be needed, but AI will be a benefit to the human.
Yeah, I don't believe it's the end of the human race. Not in payroll for sure. I think the best model, and that has been proven time and again, the best model for AI is a hybrid model or a hybrid model, where you have the machine that helps us people where we're not good at, and we help the machine where the machine is not good at. And I think moreover in payroll specifically, payroll is a very regulated field, and those regulations and how governments operate, those are not changing fast enough, or I don't see them update fast enough to meet AI. So we are for sure will continue to be needed. And I think it should make our lives as payroll professionals better, because it can relieve some of the workload, reduce some of the tedious work, and help us involve or invest our time in what we do best, and improving the overall operation, not replacing us.
Good. And we have time for one more question. We've got an example here, one live example. We have overtime application form, which payroll specialists have to manually compile into vendors' required template. Do you think AI can help in this scenario? If yes, how much data that AI needs for training?
So first, it'll be very uncautious for me to really answer, because I'm not aware of the specific details. So I would start and say, start with a disclaimer. I don't know. Every problem is very specific. and I'd be more than happy to try an answer specifically. In general, I do think that AI is an amazing tool to move data from one system to another, or to ingest or identify documents types. But again, this is a very specific issue.
Okay. All right. So we're coming to an end for today's webinar. Is there anything that you want to leave us with, Amit? Any words of wisdom that you think? Because there's a couple of people saying on here, I'm not convinced, I'm not sure. Is there anything that you want to leave us with? Do people just need to sort of suck it up and it's coming? You got to deal with it.
Well, so I think it's really good to be critical of AI, and I like those people that are not sure, because you don't want to rush and you know, just use whatever, you know, new fashion that is out there. I think when it went, and I've been doing, I'm in this software data AI business for too many years now, and when it works, it's magic. It's amazing, because when you have AI that is trained on something and is able to identify that thing later on, it is just like magic. So I would encourage everyone, those that have doubts and those that are certain, to find to think of the shortest route that they can take into experimenting with AI. Again, with cautious of, you know, security and so, but think of the shortest route that you can take into experimenting with AI, and try to do it. Maybe not start with payroll, start with anything, right? But experiment with AI, and as you do that, I think confidence will grow, and slowly you will get to understand the checks and balances. And once you are confident enough, it can really change your life for the better. So, words of advice: experiment. Don't be afraid. Give it a shot.
Yeah, have a go at ChatGPT. Or there are others, aren't there? And you just play about with it and just ask questions and yeah, have some fun with it.
Yeah, I give a stupid example. We're hiring today in Papaya. I've asked AI to write a song for, you know, why is it good to write to work for Papaya, and it created a song and lyrics, and just it created a song, not just wrote it. It created a song. It's beautiful. It's a stupid little thing, but it's amazing what it can do. And really, I really encourage everyone to just try those tools. They're for free, which is amazing.
Well, I love that. So I'm just going to leave this on a nice positive moment. There are so many questions. So I think potentially we might have to run another webinar, Amit, on some of these questions or something. We'll come up with a solution. But just want to leave on a nice comment. As a client, it's very interesting to see what Papaya does in the background. It's not easy for us to imagine or understand all the job that is done in between all the payroll steps. I really like the platform, by the way. So there you go.
That's amazing.
So thank you so much, Amit. It's been really interesting. I do think there are so many more questions, and there's so much more that we can discuss about AI. And I think even in 3 months' time, I think it's going to change, isn't it? Because it just seems to be changing
every day. And it's an honor for me that you've invited us. Thank you so much. And for any question, you know, if people want to reach out through you, through LinkedIn, through Papaya, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, make sure you connect with Amit, and I'm sure you'll be happy to hear from people as well. So yeah, of course, come through to me as well. But thanks everyone, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.